Hey, Thrivers! Welcome back to another episode of Thrivin in Color. Mental health is an essential part of our overall well being, yet, conversations around emotional wellness are often met with stigma, especially within Black communities. Today, we're creating space for a conversation that is honest, healing, and long overdue. Joining me is Dr. Camillia Harris, founder of the Just Us MH Foundation, internationally recognized mental health advocate, author, and visionary behind the Black Men's Mental Health Conference. With more than 2 decades of experience in healthcare and communications, Dr. Harris has become a leading voice in expanding access to mental health resources and creating spaces where healing, education, and advocacy can thrive. Her work has earned national recognition, including the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award, an honorary doctorate in humanitarianism, and through her foundation and conference, she continues to challenge stigma and champion mental wellness in underserved communities. Thrivers, this is a meaningful conversation you do not want to miss. Dr. Harris, welcome to Thriving in Color. It's truly a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited. I'm
Of
excited about this
course.
conversation.
I'm excited to have you. So, before we dive into things, can you share a little bit about yourself and what inspired your passion for mental health advocacy?
Well, yeah, thank you for that intro. Like, that was really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, as you indicated, I have over 22 plus years in the healthcare IT spectrum of healthcare, and I have done many, many things. However, I landed right at my passion and purpose, which is mental
Mhm.
advocacy. And most people wonder, in addition to my advocacy work, I put on Black men's mental health conferences. However, I'm an advocate for all. I always like to
Mhm.
say that. And what inspired that, it literally comes from the loss of my father to
Mhm.
suicide in 2019. And I know we'll get into that. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. I'm a mother of one. My son will be 28
Okay.
years old in August. I'm the oldest of five, but I'm a
Wow.
mother and father, even though I have three other brothers and sisters as well. And
Mhm.
I live life for life, right? I
Yeah.
love uh, every moment matters. I have really come to that realization. Every moment matters, and life is short.
Absolutely. I can definitely agree with you there. So, through Just Us MH Foundation, you launched the Black Men's Mental Health Conference. Why
Mhm.
was it so important for you to create a space centered on the mental and emotional well being of Black men?
Well, as I indicated with your introduction, without me going too in depth in the beginning, for me, it was an urgency.
Mm-hmm.
A space dedicated to the Black Men's Mental Health Conference, as it came from a place of deep personal loss, which is the loss of my father to suicide in 2019. I
Mm-hmm.
knew that, and I know it's important to move beyond just conversations, right? Just
Yep.
talking about the problem, but I wanted to actively build on solutions. And so, what I've learned in losing my father to suicide and just understanding the problematic issues and concerns that are going unheard is that Black men are facing a silent crisis. They are five
Mm-hmm.
times more likely to be diagnosed with mental health conditions, and they're least our Black men are the least likely population of men to receive mental health treatment. So I wanted to create a platform that wasn't just about raising awareness, but talking about these difficult conversations,
Yeah.
bringing our change makers in the room, and also just creating this space where Black men can feel seen, heard, celebrated, and just sharing who they are, what they've been through, what they're feeling, with no other voice in the room but theirs.
Mm, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that so much. Especially since, a lot of people say, Black men, you're not supposed to cry and show emotion, but you're creating that space for them and it's so needed. I am grateful for you to do something like this. This is great.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Now, the Black Men's Mental Health Conference has become a powerful platform for healing, connection, and honest conversations. Is there a moment or story that has stayed with you and reinforced the importance of this work?
Man, moment. Can you say many?
Mm,
um, I would say a pattern of reasons why
mm,
it's important. But some of the most powerful moments is honestly when you have men walk in a room with this tough exterior, right? Like this
mhm.
clearly clearly hesitant sometimes to be there. They don't know what to expect, what to experience, what is this going to be about. And during the discussions and when I have our panelists or our keynote speakers speak, which are typically men, always men, something profound happens. I see
Mm,
people who have likely never ever spoken about their feelings start to feel comfortable enough to share their burdens, feel
wow.
comfortable enough to share stories of fatherlessness. I remember, and I can recall, it's so many moments, right? But I can recall a moment
Mhm.
where a gentleman, he stood up and he said, I have never, I never embraced or felt the touch of another man until I was
Mm,
almost 50 years old.
wow.
Right? So that means he's never got a hug. He's never been kissed. He's never been shown the intimacy and the affection of just a father, the figure of a father.
Right.
And so when I see a room full of men, uh,
Mm,
not in understanding, but just offering support, sharing their own similar struggles. I tell people all the time, when you share your story, you give others permission to be free. And this
yes.
is what I notice when we do the conferences. These men or men, period, there's an unveiling that shows up and,
Mm,
and they're free. So when you say moment, I can go for days on many, many moments, but it's a pattern of amazing moments.
wow. That's beautiful. Now, Black men are often expected to be strong, but not always encouraged to be vulnerable. Why do you think conversations around mental health in Black communities have historically been so difficult to have?
Well, honestly, it's just rooted in a legacy of systemic racism and deeply ingrained cultural expectations. I
Mm,
think a lot of our stigmas come from our own upbringing and cultural expectations. One of the biggest ones is boys should not cry. I
right.
think is the worst statement that could ever be made because, and I always say this, and I say this at my conferences, when boys don't cry, you have young men that don't cry that end up being men such as my father that explode. And we
Yes.
wonder why. That's the first time we hear them sharing any form of a deep emotion is when it's at the
Mm,
worst part of a crisis. Um,
mhm.
I do know that as a community, we've had to endure and survive incredible hardship, right? And
Right.
the expectation to be strong, to be a provider, to man up, to not show weakness is it's all been like a form of survival mechanism. But
Mhm.
Black men are more likely to initially feel the hardship of those cultural struggles and those stigmatisms that have deeply, deeply plagued our communities. And then there's no trust.
Yeah.
When we talk about doctors, when we talk about the community, there's no trust. And when we talk about relationships, there's no trust. So,
Mhm.
me, and just from my understanding and my advocacy work and speaking with men, the biggest thing is trust.
Yes, absolutely. And I can agree with that. Dr. Harris, you are dropping some gems today.
Yes, I'm all things mental health. I love it.
All right. Now, you often talk about closing the gap between mental
Mhm,
health services and underserved communities. What barriers
mhm.
are still preventing Black men from accessing the support they need, and how do we begin to address them?
I think the barriers are three things: cultural, structural, and very personal.
Mm,
Structurally, there's a lack of cultural competent care. I think for Black men, I can't speak for any other race, but sometimes we want a mirror of who we are. So there's a lack of African American, period, but definitely African
mhm,
American men that are in the field of behavioral health, which is mental health. Our mental health system operates from a place of bias, leading to misdiagnosis or poor treatment outcomes. Right? That's
mhm.
lacking. And then there's the systemic issue with research and access.
Right.
In our culture, we're least likely to be included in mental health research and often face poverty rates and low access to quality services.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times, even in my advocacy work, where a part of our funding is strictly geared towards when individuals come, or even if they don't come, but they follow us and they're looking for the access of care, but they may need help with paying for a copay, or they may need help paying
Mhm.
for their actual visit. That's where we come in at. That's why the funding helps us, so that when they reach out, we can say, hey, we can cover your first 3 visits, or hey, we can cover your first 5 copays.
Yeah.
You would be surprised that, and it's so awful to say, but some, just for the initial consultation, is over
Mhm.
$200. That's more than an
Wow.
office. And then that's
Yeah.
even going to see someone that you may not even go back to, that you
Right.
don't know if there's an ignited conversation where you feel comfortable coming back. And then let's be honest, the consultation
Mhm.
doesn't even touch on the surface of what you're really experiencing or going through,
Exactly.
right? So
Exactly.
to address these barriers, we need to increase mental health literacy in our communities. We need to talk about real funding, governmental funding, free access, therapists of color. We have to rebuild trust. We have to make care more affordable and accessible, and it requires a multi-pronged approach universally.
Absolutely. As I'm learning more about this field, I can definitely agree. Resources and all of those things are so important. So we definitely need culturally competent care.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Now, mental health challenges don't always look the way people expect. What are some common signs that someone may be struggling, and when should they consider seeking support?
It's interesting because mental health is not a one size approach, right? Mental health
Hmm.
does not mean that you have a problem, right? I tell people all the time, suicide is not someone that may be in a deep darkness, or experiencing manic depression or possible suicide ideation, can be standing right behind you in the grocery store, in a line at the grocery store, right?
Yep.
There is no visual for it, but there are visuals for mental health concerns such as sadness, such
Hmm.
as minor things that indicate depression, and that looks different on everyone, right?
Yeah.
Um, and you may not always see that stereotypical sadness, but I would look for signs such as irritability, constant,
Hmm.
persistent anger, anger outburst,
Hmm.
and then change in behavior. I think sometimes that's one of the most recognized, when someone you love or you're in close communication or contact with all the time, and you see
Yes.
they have a change of behavior that is alarming, right? Sleeping patterns. They may sleep too much. Insomnia is a
Mm-hmm.
huge crisis.
Hmm.
Didn't realize until recently, you go to the doctor, they're like, how much sleep are you getting? I used to be like, why
Right.
do they always ask me that? Like, what does it matter? Whether I get 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours? It matters. It
Right.
matters.
Yeah.
People don't know that insomnia is like knocking on the door to suicide, manic depression.
Mm.
Sleep, rest is so important. And so there's just so many signs, self-medication, alcoholism, someone increasing their drinking. So
Yeah.
it's so many things to look out for, but most people are not educated on even what to look for.
Right.
So
That's right.
yeah, so those are just definitely signs, where you may sense that someone is struggling, and you may need to step in and just ask simple questions, not pry, but just ask
Mm.
simple questions that shows a level of concern, and not a concern to the point where you are degrading them, or the common thing in the Black community. Oh, you'll be okay. Shape up, pray about
Right.
it. So yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. That is something that our listeners and everyone definitely needs to hear. Knowing these signs, it can more probably save someone one day.
For
So
sure.
absolutely. Now, you wear many hats as a leader, advocate, and change maker. How do you stay grounded and continue leading with purpose while balancing the many demands of your work?
You know, nobody actually asks me that quite
Mm,
often, but I just remember my why, especially when I'm doing my mental health advocacy, but then all the other hats that I wear, I remember my why. And my why always goes right back to making sure that in my receiving, I'm giving, right? So I
mm,
give support, I lend my voice, my ear, and making sure that my why always stays centered on the fact that I love helping other people. But then I
mm.
have that part of me where I do self care.
Yeah,
I do self care, whether
got to.
I work out pretty heavy. That's like my therapy. When I go work out in the morning, it's almost like it gives me that jump start to the day.
Hmm.
I finish working out and I'm superwoman. What's next? What's going on? How can we do it?
Right.
There's days where I get tired, and there's days when God lets me know I'm tired, and
Mm,
I get rest, and then I prioritize my own mental health. You know, in losing my father, I went through stages of grief, and I always tell people grief comes in waves.
yeah.
One, you'll feel okay. I may have a moment where I'm like, really, daddy? Like, seriously? You
Mm,
know, but I've learned how to navigate how long I let those conversations stay, you know,
right.
and as needed, I seek therapy if I need it myself. But my biggest thing, especially at this stage of my life, is self care. And self care may mean leaving my cell phone at home while I go shopping,
Mm,
right? Self care
mm,
may be when I wake up in the morning, I read scripture before I even touch on any email, take any phone call, or even
mhm.
scroll through any social media page. That's
Yes,
the real self care in 2026.
absolutely. I'm so glad that you mentioned self care. It's so important. Self care is so important, especially for counselors as well. So it's something that many people take for granted and they don't realize self care could just be going into your backyard, having a picnic for yourself. They think it has the cost, but it could be free as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
And the sun does wonderful things.
Yes. Now, healing doesn't happen in isolation. What role do families, friendships, faith communities, and even workspaces play in creating environments where Black men feel safe enough to seek help?
I think that's a loaded question. And I think the biggest thing is feeling free and feeling comfortable that they can come to them to talk about anything. I think once we
Mm,
rebuild that trust, we remove biases, we remove stigmas, then not just black men, but every person will feel that load being released where I'm in a comfortable place and space where I can not only be listened to, but I have a voice and others are giving me feedback that is necessary for my healing and I'm not
mm,
weaponized. Faith communities, I think, is important. In the Black community in our culture, we grew up with the church being at the center and the forefront of
right.
everything we do, but there's been trust that's been lost.
Yeah.
And in our faith communities, we're so uniquely positioned because they've often been our first point of contact when you're in.
Hmm.
Historically, the Black church has been a hub for social services, mental health professionals, uh, even getting your children in order, right?
Yeah.
But I think we all need to step up to the plate and create a culture where mental health days are accepted. I
Yes.
see now where some companies in the corporate world, they allow you to take mental health days, right? You know how
Mm,
you have your sick days, uh,
right.
you have days where you take parental leave, but now they have mental health days.
Hmm.
And I think that is so important because being in the corporate world, there's been days where you wake up like, man, today is just a lot. And then when you
Right.
go to work, that's just a lot. And
Yeah.
sometimes you just need a day to be still,
Mm,
you know,
that,
just to be like today I want to just be Camellia. Like I
exactly.
want to be Tim and Rebecca. I just want to be Camellia. So when you say that, I think the role that the families, the faith communities, and the workplace play, it's a role of togetherness, it's a role of community,
Mm,
it's a role of just open conversation, and then it's a role of being honest, building trust, but most importantly, being kind. That goes,
absolutely.
yeah,
Being kind definitely goes a long way. My professor says that all the time because you never know what someone's day is like. So, a
yeah.
kind gesture, all it
When I
takes.
wake up, when I wake up every day, before I come down my steps, which I
Mm,
consider entering into the world of the day, on the wall before I can go down the steps, it says, "In all the things you do today, be kind."
mm,
And
that's
it goes
beautiful.
so far. It just
Absolutely.
goes far.
Yes. So, for someone who wants to prioritize their mental health or mental wellness but doesn't know where to start, what practical first step would you encourage them to take?
I think one of the biggest first steps in life, period, is acknowledgement. But
Hmm.
when we speak about mental health, just acknowledging that what you're feeling is real and valid. Oftentimes we
Yeah.
question, oh, well, maybe okay, it's because of this, maybe because of that, but all the things that will contradict what you're feeling, instead of just saying, you know what I feel is real. This is
Yeah.
actually how I feel, and nobody can tell me how I'm feeling. And
Mm,
the other thing that I say all the time, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay that today
yeah.
I do not feel like myself. Doesn't mean I have a mental health diagnosis, right? I think that's the biggest
Right.
thing too. There is a mental health diagnosis, and then there's mental
Mhm.
health concerns. And it's only when mental health concerns and issues go undiagnosed or unheard or untalked about that they can become something bigger, which is a mental health issue or diagnosis. So
Mhm.
the first step is just acknowledging how you feel. It's just that simple.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys heard it. Just
Yeah.
that simple. So before we wrap up, what message would you like to leave with Black men and the people who love, support, and care about them about the importance of mental wellness and healing?
Yeah. I would love to say to Black men, you are not alone. Your mental health matters. You are needed. Our households need you. Our children need you. Your
Mm,
strength is not defined by how much you can endure, but it's definitely by your willingness to heal. I
mm,
will let them know that seeking help is not a sign of weakness. Actually, it is the most courageous thing you can do. Is
yeah.
when you, because in my opinion, when you seek help, it is an act of self love, and
Hmm.
that alone will break cycles of trauma for generations to come.
Absolutely.
The ones you love, support, and care about, they need your voice. So I think it's important for you, Black man, to be intentional about checking in and
Yeah.
telling people the truth about how you really feel and how you're really doing. When someone asks you, how are you doing? Don't just say, I'm okay, I'm good. Tell them how you feel. And
Yeah.
then create that space where you have people that listen to you without judgment. Create a
Mm,
space where you can feel safe enough to be vulnerable, because when you are vulnerable, you save our households and you play a role in the healing that our community needs. So, for the sake of our fathers, our brothers, our sons, just the Black men, period, it's okay to not be okay.
yes. Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Harris.
Welcome.
Listeners, you heard it here first. Dr. Harris, it's been such a pleasure having you on this program. Thank you so much for the many gems that you dropped today. And before we wrap up, please let everyone know where they can find and connect with you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Of course, you can find me on social media. Definitely go to the website. I always tell people to go to the website. That's where you'll learn about our upcoming conferences, and it will direct you and guide you to our YouTube video, previous videos. And that's at www.bmmhc.com. On Instagram, it's Men's Mental Wellness. Or you can follow me, which will get you right to all the other avenues, which is at Camillia underscore. No, I'm sorry. It's for Instagram, it's at Camillia underscore Millie. That's CAMILLIA underscore Millie. But if nothing else, if all else defaults, www.bmmhc.com.
Yes. And to our listeners, stay connected with Black PR Wire by following at Black PR Wire on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and X for the latest news, stories, and updates in Black communities. And to everyone listening, make your mental health a priority. Rest when you need it, speak when it's heavy, and remember you're not alone. Thank you so much for tuning in to Black PR Wire's Thriving in Color podcast. I'm your host, Camry, and remember to keep thriving in color.